America's most watched news starts now.
KOAM Morning News, where it's 5 o'clock. I'm Michael Hayslip. Make sure you got the rain jackets and umbrellas handy because it's going to be a day-long affair as we find ourselves mired with morning thunderstorm activity. Good band of not only heavy rain, but we also have a huge amount of lightning that is coming down just on that edge as everything pushes from west to east right now. That also leads us to severe thunderstorm watches. That's for all our counties here that we see indicated in orange, and now we're starting to pick up severe thunderstorm warnings as well. What we'll do is kind of zoom in here because this one right on the Kansas-Missouri state line, this is a new one that's just popped up just on the other side of Fort Scott right there, lasting until, well, that's the watch is still in effect. That warning probably going to be, there we go, until 5:30 a.m. So that is the heavy rain that is right now just off to the east, west, bringing a whole bunch of lightning and also some high winds. Now, we don't have any storm reports that have come in as of yet, but this thing is capable of dropping some hail on it, and so we need to be apprised of that as it approaches Fort Scott, then Nevada, with that severe thunderstorm warning being just to the north of those two cities. As far as our temperatures go, it will drop on the backside of it down to 46 in the Odyssey compared to 61 still hanging on in Miami and 60 right now in Joplin. Give you an idea from that national perspective. We are going to be the talker. We're in the midst of it, and then more thunderstorms after mid-morning, but that's really going to be through central Arkansas. We got to get to about 8 o'clock, and then we'll begin to die down a little bit. Temperatures up into the 60s today and dropping after the storm rolls through. 7-day forecast. This rain is actually going to reformulate for the afternoon hours and carry us into Thursday morning. Not as severe Thursday morning is what we're looking at right now. Like I said, we got to get to about 8 a.m. and then we'll begin to die down here as we head toward the noon hour before we reformulate for the afternoon and evening hours. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly says the state will move into phase 3 and 4 of its vaccination plan next week. That opens the door for all people with medical risks, severe or otherwise, ages 16 to 64, and all critical workers to receive vaccines. Health officials in southeast Kansas say they've seen a drop in vaccine demand from those in phase 1 and phase 2, and they're looking forward to moving into the next 2 phases.
I think we are ready, and we've been ready. I think the whole state is ready. We have been getting lots of calls in the county and then also in other counties across the state.
Well, I appreciate you.
Officials with the Southeast Kansas Multi-County Health Department held a vaccine clinic yesterday in Bourbon County, offering the vaccine to those in phase 3 ahead of schedule. Now, Johnson says it's because they still had plenty of vaccine on hand, but not enough people left in phase 2 and did not want to waste the vaccine. Freeman Hospital staff closing its medical COVID-19 unit after the last 4 patients were discharged Monday. Now, while Freeman still has 3 patients in the COVID-19 ICU, closing of the medical COVID unit allows them to open up free beds for patients who need them. We spoke with nurses who have been working through the pandemic to see how they feel about the progress.
We had some really sick and critical patients down here as well. Had people that worked really hard. A lot of hours went into getting this unit stood up and also making sure that we're taking good care of people. So it feels amazing to be able to shrink in this way.
They say in case the need does arise to take in COVID patients once again, they will keep equipment and infrastructure inside the unit in order to meet those needs. With all the changes popping up due to COVID-19, we know you have some questions. Hopefully we have your answers. Joel sent in this question. Joel wanted to know, where in Crawford County can we go to get a vaccine? Well, there happens to be a number of places in Crawford County, Joel. Those include the Crawford County Health Department and Walmart Pharmacy, both by appointment only. Also, Lindbergh Pharmacy locations in Pittsburgh and Mathis Drug in Girard. You can find a more detailed list of vaccine locations on our website. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com. And while you're there, if you have a question, submit it for us. We provided a form on our website. All you have to do is fill out some basic information, pose your question, and you can find the form and vaccine locations once again, KOAMnewsnow.com/vaccine. Area seniors wanting a COVID vaccine can head to the Joplin Public Library today to register. Area agency will be at the library to help seniors register. That runs from noon to 4. Again, Joplin Public Library, they do ask that you wear a mask while at the library. Past year has been a unique challenge for all of us, including universities like Pittsburg State. On March 13th, 2020, students were sent home for spring break. They did not come back for in-person classes the rest of the semester due to shelter-in-place orders. A year later, university now has students back on campus, with President Steve Scott telling us it was never easy, and teamwork helped university leadership figure it all out without having to let any staff go.
Where other campuses might have had losses, we had no layoffs, no furloughs, no salary reductions. All of the faculty and staff that were with us last year, they continued to be with us, and we made every effort to keep them employed, to keep them working.
Time now to jump to the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Let's check out our thunderstorm activity as we have an additional severe thunderstorm warning indicated in yellow right there. We'll go ahead and zoom in, and while that rain is really yet to set in those places, we can give you an idea. There it is right there, coming down with a fair amount of lightning attached to it as well, and this now has been extended until 5:45 this morning. Kind of give you an overreaching idea here of what's coming that way. That's not only heavy rain, but that is also some high wind as well. And then when we throw on the lightning tracker, whoo, yeah, it's picking up for sure. Now, all of us are under a severe thunderstorm watch until 8 a.m. That is a look at this morning's top stories in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Pittsburg State at home for a doubleheader against Emporia State. We've got highlights from the Diamond. CDC may soon come out with new guidelines for social distancing in schools, and St. Patrick's Day. More than just a holiday to drink some green-colored beer, a look at its history and why it is such a big deal in Ireland. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Day of spring practice for Pittsburg State football yesterday. PSU gets 15 practices in the next month, with the spring game coming on April 3rd. For head coach Brian Wright and the Gorillas yesterday afternoon, the first step and what their hope is a successful season and somewhat of a return to a normal schedule. Here's our own sports director, Jacob Leonard.
After an up-and-down 2020, the Pittsburg State Gorillas are finally back on schedule.
Feels good to put together a schedule and be able to follow a calendar, and when it says day one of practice, we're out here doing it.
The Gorillas hit the field Tuesday for their first spring practice of the season.
Oh man, we brought a lot of energy. We do every day, but it just, it never ceases to amaze me how hungry this team is and how much we really enjoy getting to grind and practice and just be around each other every day.
Pitt State played 4 games last fall. They went 2-2 in their first action under head coach Brian Wright.
Having those 4 games really benefited us in the fact that we got to see how those coaches operate on a game week, and we also got to see how they operate on a game day.
We got to find out a lot about our football team, and it allows us something to build off of and go to work towards.
The Gorillas are ready for a full schedule.
Having a shortened season, we kind of still left the season a little bit hungry.
But before they get to fall, this spring is about getting better and staying healthy.
We got to learn how to play really fast, really tough, and really smart at the same time. And so we've made it a focal point for us this spring because we got to compete like crazy, and we got to work really hard, but we also got to take care of each other and be smart.
We're going to be solid. We're going to be fast, and I can't wait to see what we do in a full season.
Pittsburg State's season opener scheduled for September 2nd on the road against Central Missouri. Pitt State softball, at home for a doubleheader against Emporia State. For the softball team, their first MIAA doubleheader of the season. PSU looking to get rolling after a week off. Bottom of the first, Kylie Bowl. Get you some to left center. Gorillas lead 1-0 after the first. Top second. Grounder to first, Cammie Zimmerman. She'll apply the tag. Emporia still scoreless. Top of the third. Pop fly to left. That's going to leave runners stranded in scoring position. 1 at second and 1 at third. Still 1-0 Gorillas. Bottom of the frame, Corey Stonestreet. Right past the shortstop, too hot to handle. Steele on the next bat gets Stonestreet to second. And then Paxton Haynes says, you know what? You go ahead and jog. 2-run shot to center brings home Stonestreet as well. Hayes with the shot that gives the Gorillas a 4-0 lead. They go on to win Game 1 5-0. Game 2, as Pitt State was trying for the sweep, it was tied at 3 at one point. but the Gorillas got the final 3 runs of the game and win it 6-3. Pitt State back in action this weekend. Got a road doubleheader, going to take on Newman Saturday, and then a home doubleheader with Washburn on Sunday. The girls on an Oklahoma high school basketball team, called a racial slur by a sports announcer, are now state champions. They're speaking out about why they took a knee during the national anthem. Jerika Duncan with the story.
We never would have thought, wow, this would happen to us.
Kaylin Simmons, Shantae Embry, and Millie Roberts say their team was in shock when their coach shared the news.
It was just blank stares.
The Norman High School girls basketball squad had taken a knee during the national anthem all season in an effort to bring awareness to racism and social injustice. But on Thursday, an open microphone captured sports announcer Matt Rowan berating them with a racial slur.
That just goes to prove the point that this is why we took a knee.
In a statement, the NFHS network, which broadcast the game, promised an investigation, saying that it cut ties with the third-party crew involved and adding that it firmly condemns racism, hate, and discrimination. Rowan did release an apology, but blamed the rant on his type 1 diabetes, writing, "I do not believe that I would have made such horrible statements absent my sugar spiking."
It's just real ugly.
Civil rights attorney Mike Lowe and Ben Crump are representing the team.
We're demanding that the regulatory authorities of the Sports and Athletic High School Association in Oklahoma publicly condemn this racism.
And the Tigers.
The girls took home a state title Saturday, celebrating one win, now fighting for something bigger.
We just want change within our community, our state, and our country. And that change is going to start with people holding other people accountable.
Jerika Duncan, CBS News.
The Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association, which oversees the basketball tournament, released an apology as well. They also cut ties with Rowan, saying, quote, "This kind of behavior will never be tolerated," end quote. Organization also promised to make further comments pending an investigation. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, ancient artifacts uncovered.
Archaeologists unearth rare biblical text. I'm Trey Yingst in Jerusalem. How they unearthed the 2,000-year-old artifacts coming up.
And to check on our 7-day forecast, we got thunderstorms all morning long when the KOAM Morning News returns. Just past 5:17, and we're in the midst of round 1 of thunderstorm activity that's going to last for the next several hours. Extremely heavy rain on the leading edge, and it doesn't even quit on the backside of it as well. Look at all those lightning strikes. That's what we've picked up in the last 10 minutes of loan. New report coming out. That's a hail report. Let's go ahead and check it because that thing just dropped here not but seconds ago, and that is exactly where we're going to find our severe thunderstorm warning as well. So that right there. That's going to be 0.8 of an inch in diameter of hail in Bourbon County. And so we're all in the orange here. That's going to indicate the severe thunderstorm watch. The yellow, that's the warning. So as we zoom in here to Bourbon, Lynn, Bates County, that's where we picked up that storm report there. That severe thunderstorm warning lasting until 5:45. Now as we go out to Vernon County, just on the other side of Nevada, here's a brand new warning that's popped up just as we started this thing right here. So let's check our timeline on it. It is also going to be till 5:45. This will also encompass Lamar. A severe thunderstorm indicated about 7 miles east of Lamar, moving north at 45 miles per hour. And once again, that thing capable of throwing down some hail as well. And go back to the radar there and give you an idea of exactly where that's moving. And it's going to be one of those mornings where we're just going to have to stay on the warnings, one of those mornings where we stay on the warnings. Just about each and every time we hit, we're going to have an update or a new storm report of some type. Cooler temperatures on the backside of it drops it down to about the mid-40s right there compared to the 60s where the rain is yet to hit. But like I said, this is round 1. We're going to reformulate this afternoon and evening. Our temperatures will have a little bit of a rebound. Most important thing is don't go anywhere without the umbrella all day today, as a severe thunderstorm risk map will also show you how these storms are expected to intensify as they progress east into the central portion of the 4 states, with even the elevated area down in our southeastern northern portion of southwest Missouri. Future track also too, this area right here in the deep south, that's going to be problematic for them today. More so for the afternoon hours when this thing bubbles up again with additional instability. Temperature is going to be chilly on Thursday. We finally will break down the rain Thursday morning, get a chance to calm down, head into the weekend. And a nice little rebound there on Saturday as we're able to get back up into the 60s. KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning and our morning Insta poll. I knew it was coming. All right, today, hey, hopefully you can have a little luck of the Irish with you. We just got to get rid of our thunderstorms first, right? St. Patrick's Day, of course, time when many Americans celebrate that Irish heritage. About 33 million Americans self-identify as being Irish, of Irish ancestry, and that's according to U.S. Census data. 5 times the number of people on the actual island of Ireland. Traditional wearing of green likely to be more subdued this year because of social distancing and COVID-19, of course. And while you normally have hundreds of parades across the United States to celebrate, many of those canceled. Doesn't mean, though, I can't get out and, paint the hair green. Kid loves this mohawk. Our question to you this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, if you have any Irish heritage or if you have any St. Patrick's Day traditions. Let us know and we'll get to your comments. Come back, Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a plea to Americans from top U.S. health officials urging everyone to keep up public health measures for fear of a coronavirus case surge when the weather gets warmer. And the CDC could change some guidelines when it comes to social distancing at schools. Mandy Gaither has the latest on the war against COVID.
In just about every state, the more contagious coronavirus variant first identified in the UK has been found. It's still projected to become the dominant variant in the U.S. by the end of this month or early April.
In some states, Florida and California, it's up to 25%. In other states, it's lower.
With travel hitting a pandemic record over the weekend, top U.S. health officials fear a potential spike in COVID-19 cases.
We have seen footage of people enjoying spring break festivities maskless. This is all in the context of still 50,000 cases per day. I'm pleading with you for the sake of our nation's health. These should be warning signs for all of us. Cases climbed last spring. They climbed again in the summer. They will climb now if we stop taking precautions when we continue to get more and more people vaccinated.
Meanwhile, the CDC is reviewing new data on physical distancing after a study published in the journal Clinical Infectious Diseases showed similar infection rates for mask-wearing students and staff at Massachusetts public schools at 6 feet and 3 feet of physical distancing.
The question actually prompted more studies to be done, so we know more are forthcoming. We're taking all of those data carefully and revisiting our guidances in that context.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
On Monday, Dr. Anthony Fauci says the percentage of the U.S. population that needs to get vaccinated for the nation to reach herd immunity remains an elusive number, and says the U.S. should just be concerned about getting as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible. A new study finds middle-aged people who walk slowly are nearly 4 times more likely to die from COVID-19 and twice as likely to contract a severe case of the virus. UK researchers say the slow walkers in the study were not overweight and that their coronavirus risk was higher than obese people who walk briskly. 94% of older adults were prescribed drugs in 2017 that raised their risk of falling, according to a new study from the University of Buffalo. That same number was 57% in 1999. Researchers also found from 1999 to 2017, the rate of deaths caused by falls more than doubled. A study from Massachusetts General Hospital finds people who maintain a heart healthy lifestyle are less likely to develop cancer. Researchers evaluated data from over 20,000 study participants and found those who had exercised, had a healthy diet, did not smoke, and managed their blood pressure and cholesterol had a lower cancer risk. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Severe thunderstorm warning for the next 20 minutes. We've got Bates, Lynn, Bourbon, Barton, and Cedar, and Vernon County, all involved in severe thunderstorm warning. Biggest threat, quarter-size hail. This thing has already dropped hail about 0.8 of an inch in diameter just north of Fort Scott right there. That gives you the radar indicated heavy rain that's coming down with the lightning. Once again, these do not expire until 5:45. Give you an overreaching view here as the entire four-state area is under a severe thunderstorm watch until 8 a.m. This is round one. We're going to reformulate this afternoon with additional thunderstorm activity into the nighttime hours. Let's all plan on possibility of flooding here coming off of what we had last week. We'll be back right after this.
Kansas moves to another vaccination phase next week. What you need to know to get your shot. Plus a sign of change to come. Reaction from health workers as Freeman closes its medical COVID-19 unit. And a year ago, Pitt State students went on spring break and didn't return back to campus for the rest of the summer. A look back at the challenges faced by the university this past year.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Have your rain jackets and umbrellas handy because this rain is here to stay for most of the day. Michael Hayslip joins us with a first look at your forecast.
Best thing to do right now is not go outside because not only is lightning very, very present, but also too, we're now dropping some hail. 0.8 of an inch in diameter and right on the Missouri-Kansas state line. Everybody's under a severe thunderstorm watch. That's indicated in orange. And also too, we've got a slew of warnings that have now popped up. We see Lynn and Bates County with a severe thunderstorm warning until 5:45. Positive aspect is we were able to lift the warning that was in northern Bourbon County. And now we've got anywhere from Lamar up to Nevada. That's part of the severe thunderstorm warning as well, indicated there in yellow. Once again, biggest threat with this system, not just the heavy rain, but also too, capable of dropping a fair amount of hail. Now, while the warnings are right here, anybody down to the south, you are not exempt. This thing has been impressive as far as the rain it's been able to drop, and the backside of it, even after the initial band moves through, still torrential downpour in portions of southeast Kansas. Temperatures ranging anywhere from 60s to 40s, so when the rain does roll through in your community, you're going to notice it'll plummet back down. As far as the contiguous 48 go, that's band number one. They're also going to have severe storms down in the southeastern portion of the United States, and even after ours break here, say about 11, 12 o'clock, and we go more to the scattered variety, we're going to revamp and we're going to have additional thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening hours. You can tell these are expected to intensify as well as they move to the east, with even the southeast portion of southwest Missouri considered an elevated threat. Now, as we get into future track right here, that's the scattered part I was talking about, and we're right back at it into Thursday morning. So don't let your guard down here. And once again, as these watches and warnings continue to formulate, we'll have the latest for you on the Skywatch weather app. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Michael. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly says the state will move into phases 3 and 4 of the vaccination plan next week, and that opens the door for all people with medical risk, severe or otherwise, ages 16 to 64, and all critical workers to receive vaccines. Health officials in southeast Kansas say they've seen a drop in vaccine demand from those in phase 1 and phase 2, and they're looking forward to moving into the next 2 phases.
We think it's an awesome, idea, and will allow us to reach more people, and that's what we want to do. We just want to get vaccine into people's arms. We want to get them protected.
Officials with the Southeast Kansas Multi-County Health Department held a vaccine clinic yesterday in Bourbon County, offering the vaccine to those in phase 3 ahead of schedule. Johnson says it's because they still had plenty of vaccine, but not enough people left in phase 2 and didn't want to waste the vaccine. Joplin's Freeman Health System announces it is closing its medical COVID-19 unit. Declining coronavirus patient numbers have led staff to close their medical COVID-19 unit after their last 4 patients were discharged yesterday. While they still have 3 patients in their COVID-19 ICU, Freeman says it can serve patients in 1 combined medical unit. That'll allow staff to use those hospital beds for other patients. They say in case the need does arise to take in COVID patients again, they'll keep equipment and infrastructure inside the unit in order to meet those needs. The past year has been a unique challenge for all of us, including universities like Pitt State. On March 13th, 2020, students were sent home for spring break and did not come back for in-person classes. the rest of the semester due to shelter-in-place orders. A year later, the university has students back on campus. University President Steve Scott tells us it was never easy, and teamwork helped university leadership figure it all out without having to let any staff go.
Where other campuses might have had losses, we had no layoffs, no furloughs, no salary reductions. All of the faculty and staff that were with us last year, they continued to be with us, and we made every effort to keep them employed, to keep them working.
This year, spring break was moved to the end of the semester, so students are not traveling and then returning to campus, meaning coursework will end on May 7th, a week earlier than usual. A proposal to require all Kansas public schools to offer every student full in-person classes by March 26th failed in the State House. Some lawmakers complained that it would take too much power away from local school boards. The proposal would have overridden a few local school districts' decisions to wait longer to reopen because of the pandemic. Senate President Ty Masterson, an Andover Republican, pushed for the mandate, and his GOP-controlled chamber approved it earlier this month with no Democratic support. A judge has ordered the release of a Kansas Senate leader from jail in Topeka after finding that there was not enough evidence to support his arrest hours earlier on suspicion of driving under the influence and attempting to flee from a law enforcement officer. Majority Leader Gene Solentrop was booked into the Shawnee County Jail just before 4 a.m. Tuesday morning following his arrest on I-70 by the Capitol Police. But a Shawnee County District judge ruled only hours later that a Capitol Police officer's report did not include pertinent information about the arrest and ordered Solentrop's release. The National Weather Service has confirmed that an EF0 tornado touched down Monday in Johnson County, Kansas. The NWS said the tornado had a max wind speed of 85 miles per hour and it had a max path width of 100 yards. Survey crews are still working to release more details. Emergency managers from the county said about 20 homes had damage. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. For this week's Pet Connection, we meet Liberty, a husky up for adoption from the Humane Society. And plus the U.S. and Bulgarian law enforcement pull off a massive counterfeit money raid. We'll have the latest there, but first, 5:37.
New severe thunderstorm warning just popping up. Expires at 6:30. Here's who it encompasses. Now we've got Cherokee, Crawford, Barton, Newton, and Jasper counties. Now all part of the new severe thunderstorm warning that lasts until 6:30. This thing is moving east at 40 miles per hour, is capable of dropping hail, torrential rainfall, and lightning as it progresses across the state line. We'll keep you updated. Not only right here, but on the Skywatch weather app, and back with World Watch next.
Topping World Watch, archaeological experts reveal some incredible finds discovered in caves, near the Dead Sea. Among the treasures, fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Trey Yingst is in Jerusalem with the details.
An incredible discovery. Israeli archaeologists unearthed fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls, dating back almost 2,000 years. An unprecedented survey of nearly 50 miles of cliffside desert caves near the Dead Sea led archaeologists to the so-called Cave of Horrors and the roughly 80 new pieces of biblical text.
We found one fragment from the book of Zechariah, chapter 8, verses 16 to 17. We also found another small fragment from the book of Nahum.
The fragments, likely hidden during a Jewish revolt against Rome, match a scroll discovered almost 60 years ago, the last time a discovery of this magnitude was made. This collection sheds light on Jewish culture and religion before and after the time of Jesus.
These are new pieces of the puzzle, and we can add them to our greater picture of the period and of the text. And even though these pieces are small, they did give us some new information that we did not know before.
These were not the only treasure tucked inside the cave. Archaeologists also dug out ancient coins, a 6,000-year-old partially mummified child's skeleton, and a woven basket dating back more than 10,000 years.
As far as we know, this is the biggest and oldest intact basket in Israel, maybe in the world.
The search for these remarkable findings spurred on by a push to get these ancient artifacts before antiquities robbers. Prince Philip has been discharged from the hospital. The 99-year-old husband of Queen Elizabeth was admitted on February 16th when he began feeling unwell. He was treated for an infection and had a heart procedure at St. Bartholomew's Hospital in London. The Duke of Edinburgh then transferred to the private King Edward VII's Hospital. The combined hospital stays lasted 28 days, the longest amount of time he has ever been hospitalized. U.S. and Bulgarian law enforcement pull off a massive counterfeit money raid in a joint operation with the Secret Service. Bulgarian officials seized forged banknotes at a university's printing office in the capital of Sofia. 2 people were detained, and authorities found a printing machine used for counterfeit money, along with large amounts of high-quality fake U.S. and euro dollars. The seized amount is equivalent of more than $8 million US, which authorities are calling serious criminal activity. Police believe it's part of a larger operation to traffic fake money to Ukraine and Western Europe. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for something to talk about.
Something to talk about this morning's thunderstorms. That's way more important than Facebook right now. You can find updated watches and warnings on Facebook. But let's talk about watches and warnings that we have right here on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Look at all that lightning. That's the last 10 minutes alone. This thing is putting them up, taking them down. All right, so everybody is in the midst of a severe thunderstorm watch, and now we've got several warnings to talk about as well. See, indicated in yellow right there, our latest warning that encompasses Crawford, Cherokee, Jasper, Newton, and Barton County. That lasts all the way till 6:30. This thing is moving east at 40 miles per hour. It did already drop some hail up in the northern portion of the 4 states. If we put on our local storm reports here, you can tell that icon just on the north side of Fort Scott over toward Nevada. And that one's set to expire here in the next minute. That's what we'll keep our eyes on as far as the northern portion of the 4 states. But no reprieve on the backside of it. Look at that heavy rain that's still coming down in southeast Kansas. And so we're really not going to get a break till late morning, if not around the noon hour. Best thing to do right now with the possibility of hail coming down is to try to stay inside. And remember, even after we break around the noon hour and go to more of the scattered variety, then we're going to revamp and go at it again later this evening through the nighttime hours and into Thursday. Temperatures will stabilize in the high 50s here later on this afternoon, but only the 40s on Thursday and a little chill for Friday before we get sunshine there on Saturday. Be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A man is in police custody after 8 people were shot dead inside 3 massage parlors in Georgia. Investigators said at least half the victims appeared to be Asian women, but added the motive for the killings was still unknown. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly says the state will move into phases 3 and 4 of the vaccination plan next week, and that opens the door for all people with medical risks, severe or otherwise, ages 16 to 64, and all critical workers to receive vaccines. Health officials in southeast Kansas say they've seen a drop in vaccine demand from those in phase 1 and phase 2, and they're looking forward to moving into the next 2 phases. Joplin's Freeman Health System announces it's closing its medical COVID-19 unit. Declining coronavirus patient numbers have led staff to close their medical COVID-19 unit after their last 4 patients were discharged yesterday. While they still have 3 patients in their COVID-19 ICU, Freeman says it can serve patients in 1 combined medical unit. That'll allow staff to use those hospital beds for other patients. They say in case the need does arise to take in COVID patients again, they'll keep equipment and infrastructure inside the unit in order to meet those needs. The past year has been a unique challenge for all of us, including universities like Pitt State. On March 13th, 2020, students were sent home early for spring break due to shelter-in-place orders. A year later, the university has students back on campus. University President Steve Scott tells us it was never easy, and teamwork helped university leadership figure it all out without having to let any staff go. This year, spring break was moved to the end of the semester, so students are not traveling and then returning to campus, meaning coursework will end on May 7th, a week earlier than usual. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Getting on it on this leading band of thunderstorm activity, getting 40 to 50 mile an hour winds. Huge amounts of lightning and torrential downpours. Also, too, this thing is capable and has produced a couple reports of hail as much as 0.8 of an inch just north of Fort Scott. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Cherokee, Crawford, Jasper, Newton, and Barton County. Those lasting all the way until 6:30. Give you an idea of exactly who's indicated there in the yellow as this continues to roll through west to east. Still a whole bunch of rain on the backside of it as well, and so we really won't get a break till, say, late morning. Now, everybody else in the orange, that is a severe thunderstorm watch. It lasts until 8 a.m. After we get past the initial round of thunderstorms, we're going to get a break, and then we're going to reformulate for the afternoon hours. It's going to carry us into Thursday morning as well. We'll keep you updated on your watches and warnings, and of course, all the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
Well, we like to spotlight pets here on the KOAM Morning News, and that's why this morning we're joined by a pet. But we are also joined by Tiana Fisher with the Joplin Humane Society. And Tiana, I know you have Thomas there with you. Thomas J. is the animal behavior expert, and we'll get to him in a second. But who is our guest of honor?
So we are joined by Liberty. Liberty is a beautiful shepherd mix. She is a reddish brown color, and she is 2 to 3 years old. She is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to move the camera around here so we can get a view of her.
Okay.
Liberty, come here, honey.
Oh.
Hey, guys, see her? There she is. Liberty, hi.
Wow, she's cute. So give us a little background on Liberty.
Thomas, tell us a little bit what you know about Liberty. You get to work with her more than I do, so.
You know, she's super sweet. We've never had an issue with her and other dogs. She doesn't seem to have an issue with cats. She's kind of timid, but really sweet.
Thomas, as an animal behavioral expert, I mean, what kind of advice do you have for a family that's looking for a dog like Liberty, or what's the perfect home for Liberty, and what's a home that Liberty could adjust to?
I think that Liberty would fit in a lot of homes. You do need to take into consideration her size. She does need a fair amount of exercise as well. So, if you're maybe a small apartment that doesn't have a lot of room for her to run around, might not be the best option. If somebody has a yard or someone that's really active, they could take her out on a lot of walks.
Yeah,
would be great for her. I think she would do fine in a family setting. Like I said, she gets along with people just fine.
That's awesome.
And she knows how to shake.
She does.
Yeah, I saw that. I felt it was like a first-person view. I mean, when it comes to behavior as a whole, though, Thomas, I'm curious, in your experience, you work with dogs of all maturity levels. What are the core components or maybe sort of sections you break it down in terms of how you evaluate an animal's behavior and sort of how much room they have to grow?
Well, when I do the evaluation, we'll go through several exercises, like affiliation. We'll take them into a room and see how they adjust to us.
Yeah.
There we go. She's hugging me.
Yeah, I can tell that she's very out of control.
Oh yeah,
looks
yeah, it's
cute.
out of control.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how she affiliates to people. We'll take her through the cat area, see how she does with cats. And we'll do handling tests where we'll do different handling things and see how she reacts to that. That kind of gives us an idea. Maybe she's good with kids.
Right.
So things like that we'll look at, and we'll just try to build a profile. I almost kind of think of it as like a dating profile.
Huh.
You're figuring out what would be the best home for this creature, and they do all present their own unique behavioral needs.
Yeah.
So we put those behaviorals up on their kennel cards. People, when they're walking through, can browse those, kind of pick out which one would be the best for their living situation. We do also offer counseling at the time of adoption. So if you'd like to speak with one of the ladies up at the front desk, you'd like to speak with me, we'll always come in there and talk to you. We like to say that every adoption is a conversation.
That's beautifully put. Well, we really appreciate the three of you joining us this morning. I think there's a lot of people that would swipe right on Liberty. So we'll make sure we have Liberty's profile on our morning show page. Thank you, 3. We'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Getting a little wicked out there on this leading edge. You've got rain coming down sideways, a little light hail going along with it. That's why we've got severe thunderstorm warnings for our counties indicated in yellow, those lasting all the way until 6:30. Let's return to the radar. On the backside of this initial band after it blows through, still heavy rain coming down throughout southeast Kansas, and the temperatures plummet as it rolls through. We've picked up some wind gusts close to 50 miles per hour as this thing progresses at 40 miles an hour, getting ready to cross the state line into Joplin right there. Once again, best thing to do is let this thing blow through your neighborhood. I wouldn't try to walk outside right now because, like I said, it is just sheet upon sheet upon sheet of sideways rain coming down. Throwing a lightning tracker, and I'm telling you, it is really picking up here, especially as it progresses into southwest Missouri. Of course, we'll continue to update our watches and warnings and all the latest for you on the Skywatch weather app.
Kansas moves to another vaccination phase next week. What you need to know to get your shot. Plus a sign of change to come. Reaction from health workers as Freeman closes its medical COVID-19 unit. And a year ago, Pitt State students went on spring break and didn't return back to campus for the rest of the summer. A look back at the challenges faced by the university this past year.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Have your rain jackets and umbrellas ready, or frankly, just stay inside right now because it is coming down hard. Here's Michael with a check of your forecast.
Especially upon this leading band right here, Tanya, just about to make its way into southwest Missouri. For those of you that haven't experienced it as of yet, it'll be nice and calm, and like that, it's going to pick up. Wind's going to come in about 50 miles per hour. Rain's going to come down sideways, and you're going to see the lightning out in the distance. This thing also capable of dropping some hail. 0.8 of an inch in diameter is what we had earlier just north of Fort Scott. Everybody's in the midst of a severe thunderstorm watch. That's indicated in orange until 8 a.m. And now we've got additional severe thunderstorm warnings. That is for Crawford, Cherokee, Jasper, Newton, and Barton counties. So specifically, this is the line we're looking at, just about to make its way across the state lines. Those don't expire until 6:30. We were able to lift our earlier warning for Vernon County, so at least that's some positive news on this Wednesday morning. Still on the backside of it, after the initial band comes through, very heavy rain throughout southeast Kansas. You'll also notice a large drop in temperatures as we're going to roll anywhere from the 60s all the way down to the mid-40s as this thing comes through. And it's actually just round one. We're going to reformulate later on this afternoon, take us in through Wednesday night into Thursday morning. A little rumble of thunder right there outside the mothership. Our severe thunderstorm risk map shows you that you can expect increasing intensity as we find the far southeastern portion of southwest Missouri considered the elevated area. Where we're seeing these severe thunderstorm warnings right now, that is considered low risk. At the same point in time, let's not say that low risk is not important to pay attention to. As Tanya said, best thing to do right now, stay inside. I wouldn't even try to drive through the sideways rain. Future Track has it reformulating for the evening hours, coming back at us. Cooler temperatures there on Thursday, then Friday and Saturday. We finally get a chance to take a breath from our first real good round of March thunderstorm activity.
Whew, yeah, we're going to need a breath by then, that's for sure.
Flooding's going to be a threat coming off of what we had last week and the amount of rain that we're already picking up today.
All right, thanks, Michael. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces on Monday that the state will move into phases 3 and 4 of the vaccination plan starting this next Monday. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with officials in Crawford and Bourbon counties about the plan and has more.
With the governor's announcement combining phases 3 and 4 and the state entering them next week, local health officials were excited.
We think it is time to move forward, and we're so excited that the governor decided to. We felt like we were coming to the end of phase 2
I think we are ready, and we've been ready. I think the whole state is ready. We have been getting lots of calls in the county and then also in other counties across the state.
However, it presents a challenge to the Crawford County Commissioners. On March 5th, the Commission rescinded their health order, removing some business restrictions. The Commission also decided at that time to keep the county-wide mask mandate in place until the state entered Phase 4.
Our health officers had discussed waiting until the completion of the third phase, since at this point, I don't think we're in a spot that would make sense to do that.
The combined phases means there won't be a completion to Phase 3 ahead of Phase 4, and Commissioner Jeremy Johnson says, on advice from health officials, they're going to keep the mask mandate in place for now.
We do not want to rush that process. I want to make sure that we are truly in a place of safety before we're saying we're going to take out all of the safety precautions that we have in place.
The Southeast Kansas Multi-County Health Department, which encompasses Allen, Anderson, Bourbon, and Woodson counties, held a vaccine clinic in Bourbon County on Tuesday, vaccinating those eligible under Phase 3 ahead of schedule. But Administrator Rebecca Johnson says there's a good reason.
We weren't seeing the people or the numbers that we had hoped to see, and we had vaccine ready, so we wanted to open that up if we had people wanting the vaccine so it wouldn't go to waste.
In Crawford and Bourbon counties, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Phases 3 and 4 in Kansas include everyone with any medical risk, not just severe ones, ages 16 to 64, and all critical workers like agriculture and food workers, utility workers, and people in other positions. With all other changes popping up due to COVID-19, we know you have some questions, and we have answers. Joel sent in this question. He wants to know, where in Crawford County can we go to get a vaccine? Well, Joel, there are a number of places in Crawford County where you can get a COVID-19 vaccine. Those include the Crawford County Health Department and Walmart Pharmacy, both by appointment only. Also, Lindbergh Pharmacy locations in Pittsburgh and Mathis Drug in Girard. You can find a detailed list of vaccine locations on our website. And while you're there, you can ask a question yourself. We've provided a form on our website for you to fill out some basic information and then pose your question. You can find the form and vaccine locations at KOAMnewsnow.com/vaccine. Area Agency on Aging is helping Joplin area seniors register for a vaccination. Today, representatives from the agency will be at the Joplin Public Library to help seniors register. That'll be from noon to 4 p.m. and again at the Joplin Public Library. They do ask that people wear a mask while at the library. Freeman Hospital staff are closing their medical COVID-19 unit after their last 4 patients were discharged on Monday. While they still have 3 patients in the COVID-19 ICU, closing the medical COVID unit will allow them to free up beds for other patients who need them. We spoke with nurses who've been working through the pandemic to see how they feel.
We had some really sick and critical patients down here as well. Had people that worked really, really hard. A lot of hours went into getting this unit stood up and also making sure that we're taking good care of people. So it feels amazing to be able to shrink in this way.
They say in case the need does arise to take in COVID patients again, they'll keep equipment and infrastructure inside the unit in order to meet those needs. The past year has been a unique challenge for all of us, including universities like Pitt State. On March 13th, 2020, students were sent home for spring break and did not come back for in-person classes for the rest of the semester due to shelter-in-place orders. A year later, the university has students back on campus. University President Steve Scott tells us it was never easy, and teamwork helped university leadership figure it all out without having to let any staff go.
Where other campuses might have had losses, we had no layoffs, no furloughs, no salary reductions. All of the faculty and staff that were with us last year, they continued to be with us, and we made every effort to keep them employed, to keep them working.
This year's spring break was moved to the end of the semester, so students are not traveling and then returning to campus, meaning coursework will end on May 7th, a week earlier than usual. 6:07.
Here's a look at the Skywatch storm tracker. Very, very heavy rain, lightning, hail, the whole 9. And so we've got severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for our counties in yellow. lasting until 6:30. Everybody else is in the midst of a severe thunderstorm watch that lasts until 8 a.m. Best thing to do, let this pass through your neighborhood, especially that leading edge of it, because it will come down on you sideways, and a huge amount of lightning associated with it as well. Then wait for the temperatures to fall after that. We'll get a break here later this morning, but then we're going to re-roll thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening hours.
Top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Jesse Irwin has another pet spotlight from the Humane Society, plus online safety.
Protecting your teens from predators. I'm Elise Preston with a look at how Instagram is changing its safety protocols.
And as millions await their chance to get vaccinated against COVID-19, health authorities are concerned thousands of doses are being wasted, why vials are winding up in dumpsters instead of your arms. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, Instagram is changing the way it protects teenagers from online predators. The company's head of global public policy talked about the new changes first on CBS This Morning. Elise Preston has the latest from New York.
It's taking steps to protect teenagers from unwanted interactions with adults. The popular social media company announced it will use artificial intelligence to restrict adults from messaging teenagers if they don't follow each other.
We're using machine learning to look at behavioral signals of how old someone is.
Instagram will also use prompts to encourage teens to be cautious and make it harder for adults to find and follow them.
People come to Instagram to connect with their family and friends.
On CBS This Morning, Instagram's Carolyn Merrill stressed that the activity on the platform is overwhelmingly positive, but
even in one of our latest reports, we saw that in over 10,000 pieces of content, 5 were potentially risky for teens. But 5 is too much, and that's why we're investing in even more technology to protect teens.
A 2019 study found at least 20% of children reported being contacted by an online predator.
It's estimated that there's maybe 500,000 predators online a day. Does that surprise you?
Yes and no. The number, yeah, that's very scary to hear that there are people out there doing that. No, unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me.
Instagram is also updating its Parents Guide so that parents have the resources to help their children have a positive experience on the platform. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Tips in the Parents Guide include setting boundaries, encourage teens to avoid social media for an hour before bed, and make sure they have an alarm clock that is not their phone. Tinder will soon offer a new feature they hope will make their users feel safer. Users of the popular dating app will soon be able to run a background check on potential dates. Nice. Background checks will collect public records and documented cases of violence or abuse, including arrests, convictions, restraining orders, harassment, and other violent crimes. Nonviolent arrests related to drug possession or traffic violations will not appear in the search. No word yet on if this feature will come at an added cost to the users. Rosie the Riveter has a new message. Get vaccinated. The famous World War II campaign is being brought back by a handful of advertising and veteran groups to encourage Americans to get their shots. CBS News poll found more than 1 in 5 Americans say they will not get the coronavirus vaccine. Dick's Sporting Goods launches a men's athleisure line. That's a cross between athletes and leisure. Products from the new line will make their way into more than 400 retail stores in the coming weeks. The new line of clothing includes everything from joggers, sweatshirts, shorts, t-shirts, and more, ranging in price from $30 to $120. The company points out the brand is a lifestyle line similar to Lululemon rather than Nike or Under Armour. That's it for Money Watch. We'll be right back. Topping Health Watch this morning, the White House is confident efforts to help in the pandemic are going strong, but as millions await their chance to get vaccinated, thousands of shots may never get used. Jackie Ibanez has more on what's causing vaccine waste and why officials say it's normal.
We're just days away from 100 million shots and millions in the arms of millions of Americans.
President Biden says millions of shots are going into people's arms, but health authorities say many shots could be heading for dumpsters instead. According to the World Health Organization, it's normal for doses of any vaccine to be thrown away. Officials say millions of flu shots are discarded every year, and global vaccination efforts for previous viruses saw at least half of the doses labeled as wasted. Reasons for the waste are vast and include everything from doses naturally expiring to medical workers accidentally throwing them away to vials not being properly stored. Currently, the exact number of wasted coronavirus vaccines is unknown, as more states are busy collecting this data. But so far, it seems as though more COVID-19 shots are being administered than trashed. In states like Tennessee, local officials are looking into ways they can improve vaccine distribution in an effort to minimize waste. This after more than 4,000 doses were reported damaged last month. In the meantime, if you're eligible to get vaccinated, doctors say don't be picky.
The best thing to do is get that vaccine when it's your turn, be ready, and absolutely don't wait for, I want vaccine A if you're offered vaccine B. Take vaccine B.
The White House says the vaccine rollout is only intensifying, with an average of 2.4 million shots administered each day across the country. Apple Maps gets an update that will help you find a COVID-19 shot. The application found on Apple products like on iPhones identifies locations where vaccines are being given. The data comes from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Vaccine Finder. In a news release, the software giant says all people have to do is ask Siri, quote, "Where can I get a COVID-19 vaccination?" Apple Maps is also marking areas where COVID testing is underway. COVID-19 antibodies are present in about 1 in 5 blood donations from unvaccinated people. With the 20% of antibodies from unvaccinated people and the 11% of antibodies from fully vaccinated people, nearly 1/3 of Americans may have COVID-19 antibodies. But experts estimate the actual number is much higher. Disposable e-cigarettes are becoming more popular among adolescents who vape. According to a letter published in the New England Journal of Medicine, close to 27% of high school students said they used a disposable e-cig in 2020. A spike was also seen among middle schoolers. 15% said they used a disposable e-cig in 2020. Disposable e-cigs are thrown away once the vape juice is gone and are usually cheaper than refillable ones. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back.
Impressive thunderstorm activity for our Wednesday morning, producing hail, huge amounts of lightning, torrential downpours, and also, too, close to 60-mile-an-hour winds. The entire 4 states there in orange, indicating a severe thunderstorm watch until 8 a.m. And we still have severe thunderstorm warnings for Barton, Jasper, and Newton counties until 6:30. We have been allowed to let the severe thunderstorm warnings for Crawford and Cherokee expire. But once again, Jasper, Newton, and Barton running all the way until 6:30. And we've also lifted our warnings up to the north, so we're getting a little bit better. But on this leading edge right here, that is where the sheets of rain come down sideways and has also produced a little bit of hail as well. 0.8 of an inch in diameter just north of Fort Scott earlier this morning. Temperatures plummet on the backside of it down to the 40s, and we're actually going to have to do it again this afternoon and evening. We get a little bit of a break here, say about the noon hour. Then we're going to reformulate for the late afternoon, carry us all the way into Thursday. We finally get a chance to take a little breath and get some sunshine there by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. Of course, you can always find the latest updated watches and warnings on the Skywatch weather app. Now over to Jesse in Studio K.
Well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I am a fan of kittens. Now, I wasn't always a cat person, but over time I became one, and it's in large part thanks to our friend Jasmine Kyle with the SDK Humane Society. And Jasmine, I first want to thank you for making me a cat guy. I still love my dogs,
No
but
problem.
I mean, when it comes to cats, you've got some right now at the Humane Society that are about as cute as can be. So do you mind just introducing us to your friends here?
Yeah, absolutely. So about a month and a half ago, we got a call about a taped up box. This was during one of the winter storms, really, really bad in that negative, 2 degrees type of weather. And we went down, and sure enough, there were 8 kittens taped in that box with no air holes. So the kittens were okay. They went through some quarantine, getting some medicine and stuff, but now they are up for what we call foster to adopt. They're not yet old enough to be spayed or neutered, but out of the 8, we still have 3 left. So this is Cloud. She is almost 3 months old. Here in the next few weeks, she will be up for adoption. We named them the winter babies because they were found in the winter storm. So Cloud, she actually has, as you can see, spots. She's got these really pretty spots on her. We do have her still left, and then we have 2 tabby boys that are left. So
wow, and they're just roaming around your office
right now.
right
Son and Cloud. Yeah, I've got kids running everywhere right now, but if I can snag one, I'll snag one for you.
That's awesome. Well, I remember the first year I met you, one of the moments I'll never forget was you and I ended up in a public storm shelter in Pittsburgh, and I went into the room, and there you were, and you had 9 kittens with you. And
we had just picked those up, those little foster babies. I had completely forgotten about that. Yeah, so Christie at the time is an amazing shelter for tornadoes. I know with COVID, they're not allowing that anymore, but during, the regular times, they would let you bring your animals for safe haven. It was our perfect spot to go to.
I remember you telling me that, especially in the spring, you tend to find a lot of, maybe litters, and that's because this is mating season, correct? So, I mean, what should people be looking out for that might be signs of these litters, or might be ways to help prevent there from being further litters? Because I know that this can be a big moment in the cat season.
Yeah, so it is absolutely. We've already got some pregnant mamas right now. We're starting to get into kitten calls. So spring it's puppy and kitten season for everybody right now. The biggest thing that we can tell people is to spay and neuter. However, what's happening right now is for unfixed animals, they're going into heat. Vets cannot neuter or spay, especially the females. They cannot spay while those girls are in heat. What happens is their organs, they're in much more circulation, they're inflated, it causes surgery. There's complications in surgery. So for about a month, your dog or your cat will not be able to be spayed, but they'll be in heat. Keep those fur babies inside.
Thank you for joining us this morning. I can see kittens running around your office right now. I love this. They're under your feet right now?
Yes, I've got one of the boys. This is Rain. Yeah, what are you doing, hon? He's got a brother who's identical by the name of Sun, who's a tabby too. So we got 2 tabby boys left, and then our little female Cloud that you saw earlier.
Too cute. Well, we were going to have all that information on our morning show page. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Kansas moves to another vaccination phase next week. What you need to know to get your shot. Plus a sign of change to come. Reaction from health workers as Freeman closes its medical COVID-19 unit. And a year ago, Pitt State students went on spring break and didn't return back to campus for the rest of the summer. A look back at the challenges faced by the university this past year.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. If you've stepped outside or you can hear it through the windows, it's loud with thunder out there. Michael Hayslip joins us with the first look at your forecast.
And the lightning illuminating our Wednesday morning. Torrential downpour is going to lead to flash flooding. There's a look at the lightning tracker. Also, too, storm report coming out earlier this morning just north of Fort Scott. Had hail falling 1/8 of an inch in diameter. Orange indicating severe thunderstorm watches until 8 a.m. One positive aspect, we have lifted the thunderstorm watches for most of southeast Kansas. However, we still do have slivers along the state line that are engaged in that, as the leading band will send rain sideways at you, winds up to 60 miles per hour. This band stretching from Liberal down to Joplin, moving east at 35 miles per hour. Our severe thunderstorm warnings, hey, this is great news. These have just expired here in the past minute as far as what we had for Jasper, Newton, and Barton counties. Now, with that being said, don't fool yourself. We're a long way from being over, because this is the leading edge where, like I said, once that thing drops through, you're going to hear it coming. For those of you living on the eastern portion of southwest Missouri where it's yet to arrive, it's a nice calm morning, but it changes just about like that, and the temperatures then plummet down to the 40s after it rolls through. We get a little break on the backside of it. Still, it's going to be another hour and a half, 2 hours before we finally do get it calmed down. And we're not done. Consider this round one. What we're going to do this afternoon is reformulate through the evening hours. Additional thunderstorm activity takes us from Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Thursday mid-morning, then we're starting to back off a little bit, get a chance to get some sunshine on Friday and Saturday. But look at these overnight lows down to the 30s. Could even see a couple snowflakes Thursday morning. Won't impact our travel though. Ground's simply too warm. Tanya?
That's right. Just be safe if you do have to go out.
We got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's for sure. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly says the state will move into phases 3 and 4 of the vaccination plan next week. That opens the door for all people with medical risks, severe or otherwise, ages 16 to 64, and all critical workers to receive vaccines. Health officials in Southeast Kansas say they've seen a drop in vaccine demand from those in phase 1 and phase 2, and they're looking forward to moving into the next 2 phases.
I think we are ready, and we've been ready. I think the whole state is ready. We have been getting lots of calls in the county, and then also in other counties across the state.
Well, I appreciate you taking a minute for me.
Officials with the Southeast Kansas Multi-County Health Department held a vaccine clinic yesterday in Bourbon County, offering the vaccine to those in phase 3 ahead of schedule. Johnson says it's because they still had plenty of vaccine, but not enough people left in phase 2. And did not want to waste the vaccine. Freeman Hospital announced the closing of its medical COVID-19 unit. KOAM's Bronnie Sorotsky spoke with Freeman officials to learn why.
After battling the pandemic for over a year, Freeman Hospital is finally closing the doors of its medical COVID-19 unit. The last 4 patients were discharged from the unit on Monday, offering a new hope for the community. Janae Kennedy, Chief Nursing Officer at Freeman, says this is a big day.
It's a really exciting day for us. We're cautiously optimistic that we have a brighter future with COVID. We've worked really, really hard. We're happy for our nurses to have this break, to be able to focus on the areas of our community that need us the most right now.
Now the area is being cleaned so that it can become what it once was, a critical care area for any medical issue.
And we will just care for all types of patients in our critical care area. So any medical patient or critical care level of care will go to our C-zone now.
At their busiest time, they had up to 30 patients in this small unit at once. To see that number dwindle just brings a sigh of relief. Kennedy says they waited to close the unit and didn't want to act too fast.
Throughout COVID, we've really been trying to be strategic and really watching the numbers. So we've had low census on our medical COVID unit for a while now. And had more beds than we had patients, but we were really waiting until we saw those numbers sustain because we didn't want to be too quick.
Larry Bergner, Newton County Health Department Administrator, says the county's COVID-19 numbers have been decreasing and is glad to hear they are transforming the unit.
All the numbers of COVID are decreasing, which is great news. And it also opens up those beds for those routine, people that have heart surgeries or other procedures, medical procedures where they need a hospital stay or more in-depth care. Now those resources are available.
For those like Stephanie Stockham, who had loved ones that suffered from COVID, hearing this news brings comfort and hope. Stockham's 83-year-old father was on a ventilator and hospitalized with the virus for 6 weeks.
Completely thankful and relieved that I feel like we can see a light at the end of the tunnel, that maybe we have some normalcy returning.
In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Freeman's separate COVID-19 ICU remains open with only 3 patients currently being treated. The past year has been a unique challenge for all of us, including universities like Pitt State. On March 13th, 2020, students were sent home for spring break and did not come back for in-person classes for the rest of the semesters due to shelter-in-place orders. A year later, the university has students back on campus. University President Steve Scott tells us it was never easy, and teamwork helped university leadership figure it all out without having to let any staff go.
Where other campuses might have had losses, we had no layoffs, no furloughs, no salary reductions. All of the faculty and staff that were with us last year, they continued to be with us, and we made every effort to keep them employed, to keep them working.
This year's spring break was moved to the end of the semester, so students are not traveling and then returning to campus, meaning coursework will end on May 7th a week earlier than usual. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, deadly shootings.
Shootings at 3 spas in Atlanta leave several dead and a suspect in custody. I'm Naomi Ruckham with the latest as authorities investigate whether the killings were racially motivated.
Plus, it's St. Paddy's Day, and for our something to talk about, we're asking, do you have any Irish heritage? Or who cares if you don't? Do you celebrate St. Patrick's Day anyway? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Find our silver lining here with our Wednesday morning thunderstorms, and that's the fact that our severe thunderstorm warnings have all been allowed to expire. But don't kid yourself, this line we've got right now from Liberal down to Joplin, raining sideways, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and this thing has dropped some hail earlier this morning. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, a 21-year-old Georgia man is in custody after police say he may be responsible for shooting and killing 8 people at 3 different spas. Investigators are looking into it if it was racially motivated. CBS's Naomi Ruckham has the latest.
8 people are dead after 3 Atlanta area spas came under gunfire Tuesday evening.
The suspect was identified as Robert Aaron Long, but he is currently in custody.
The Cherokee County Sheriff's Office believes 21-year-old Long shot 5 people, killing 4 at Young's Asian Massage Parlor in Ackworth, Georgia.
Completely devastated.
This woman's uncle is the sole gunshot survivor.
We never know when we're at the wrong place at the wrong time, because this was so all of a sudden, and it was just like a lot of things racing through my head.
30 miles south, Atlanta police say it is extremely likely that Long is also the suspect who then killed 4 more people at 2 other spas.
We just heard numerous gunshots coming from across the street.
Long was taken into custody after a manhunt that ended 150 miles south of Atlanta.
Georgia State Patrol troopers performed the pit maneuver, which caused the vehicle to spin out of control.
6 of the 8 dead are Asian. Investigators have not said if the attacks were racially motivated.
Nothing's going to be ruled out. We're conducting a multiple homicide investigation. So wherever the evidence leads us, that's where the investigators will go.
The advocacy group Stop Asian American Pacific Islander Hate has recorded more than 3,000 incidents directed at Asian Americans since the start of the pandemic. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
Atlanta police were responding to a robbery call when they had found the first 3 people dead. The second spa was across the street. The killer that inspired the Amityville horror book and movie series has died. State correction officials say Defio died on Friday. The 69-year-old was serving a sentence of 25 years to life for the murders of his father, mother, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters. The killings happened in the village of Amityville in 1974. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check in with Michael let's probably check on the forecast.
That's right. We've got additional storm reports rolling in right now. We've got hail reports. One coming out of Carterville, 0.7 of an inch, along with 35-mile-an-hour winds, describing that as dime-sized hail, then penny-sized hail from Oronogo out of Jasper County. Now, with that being said, we have allowed our severe thunderstorm warnings to expire. But don't let down your guard, because the severe thunderstorm watch that's indicated there in orange, that lasts all the way until 8 a.m. Then on the backside of it, if you're curious about southeast Kansas in the tan, that's a wind advisory. So it's going to be one thing after another. And then as you progress to the east, just out of our highlighted counties towards Springfield, flash flood watches. So that's the torrential rain and the wind and the hail first off, and then on the backside of that, we have to turn our attention to flooding. Temperature is going to drop down into the 40s after the system rolls through, and even though we'll get a late morning break from the thunderstorms, we're going to revamp and we're going to go at it once again for late this afternoon into the nighttime hours and carry us into Thursday. We'll update these storm reports here, and of course the latest on the Skywatch weather app. Birthdays and anniversaries coming at you next.
We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Otto Sill, who was a member of the United States Air Force. He served from 1956 to 1976. His hometown, Galena, Kansas. We are proud to salute Otto Sill, our 4-state hero.
Birthday list begins with Bryson Pitts. He is celebrating his 7th birthday. Bryson, a first grader at Westside Elementary. Have a happy birthday, kiddo. He's in Pittsburgh.
Great kid from a great family there. Happy birthday, Bryson. Taryn Query turning 12 years old this year. Looks like she's ready for summer. And Taryn is in Lamar.
Now, Grayson Davis celebrating a 15th birthday with the number 15 jersey on right there. And I'm told that Grayson is a little leprechaun. Grayson, that's not for me right there. That's a happy 15th birthday from Mom, Dad, and Brett.
All right, turning sweet 16 this year. A lot of pictures with dogs today. We've got Tristan Johnston, 16 years old. Happy birthday.
In Moorhead, J.D. Freeze celebrating his 65th birthday. Speaking of leprechauns right there, happy birthday, J.D.
All right, I got my hat in the car. I'll be wearing it later today. All right, and Chris and Holly Johnson are celebrating their 20th anniversary today in Columbus. Congratulations to the Johnsons, 20 years together.
And who that is? Our own Zach Brown. Trust me, he actually has a face and smiles and whatnot. That's good. Zach is one of our sports photographers. Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday, Zach. Our list goes on. Darlene Miller is celebrating a birthday down in Miami today, and Jan Showalter in Parsons. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this March 17th. That's where you can send them into birthdays at KOAMTV.com. Or if you want to jump on our website, go to KOAMnewsnow.com/birthdays. Now, here's Sonia Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
It's a Wednesday where we say pick your poison weather-wise. On the leading edge, we've got torrential rainfall that'll come down in sheets sideways. On top of that, we've got lightning abound. Don't forget, we also have wind gusts of close to 60 miles per hour. And then as we turn on our local storm reports, you can also see that this is capable of dropping hail, as we've got multiple reports. The first one came north of Fort Scott. The second one's coming out of Oronogo and the Jasper area. Please be very, very careful when you step outside. And not only that, we'll then turn our attention to flash flooding later on this afternoon. When we talk about our current watches and warnings, we've been able to let all the severe thunderstorm warnings expire. That being said, for everybody in orange, the severe thunderstorm watch lasts until 8 o'clock. And then if you look out to the west, throughout southeast Kansas, those are wind advisories. Then as we look to the east towards Springfield, those are flash flood watches. You notice the flash flood watch doesn't expire until tomorrow morning. It is that leading band right there, but even on the backside of it, once the high wind and sideways rain come through, it's not letting up throughout southeast Kansas, and that's why flooding is going to be the concern even after this begins to break up and exit east of our highlighted counties. Give you kind of a longer range view here, and that's why if we can get through about 8:30, 9 o'clock, we'll finally get a late morning break. When it does roll through, it cools off fast down to 43 in both Iola and Yates Center, still clinging to the high 50s there in Anderson and in Cassville. When that initial system does roll through, I'll tell you what, it cools off quick now as the wind shift and eventually move in from the north. Then we'll have additional thunderstorm activity for this afternoon. But to give you an idea of the contiguous 48, that thing just kind of hovering right over us, stretches all the way into northern Missouri. And then you're going to have other thunderstorm activity for the southeastern portion of the United States as we now see it originate in East Texas and push toward the old Arklatex region. So when we talk about our weather trend, we'll be stuck in the 50s here when we rebound. But more importantly, look at the old severe thunderstorm risk map, a long way from being over. At least we avoid that high category that we see through this deep southeast. But you can expect it to intensify because we do see low throughout the central portion of the 4 states in that elevated area in orange for the southeastern section of our highlighted counties in southwest Missouri. After we reload and go tonight into tomorrow morning, we may even see some snowflakes fall with that as our overnight temperatures drop down close to freezing. Our ground's too warm though. Don't worry about any travel impacts. Then we get to take a breath on Friday and Saturday as we have the reemergence of sunshine and temperatures back up into the 60s. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A man is in police custody after 8 people were shot dead inside 3 massage parlors in Georgia. Investigators say at least half the victims appeared to be Asian women, but added the motive for the killings is still unknown. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly says the state will move into phases 3 and 4 of the vaccination plan next week, and that opens the door for all people with medical risk, severe or otherwise, ages 16 to 64, and all critical workers to receive vaccines. Health officials in southeast Kansas say they've seen a drop in vaccine demand from those in phase 1 and phase 2, and they're looking forward to moving into the next 2 phases. Joplin's Freeman Health System announces it is closing its medical COVID-19 unit. Declining coronavirus patient numbers have led staff to close their medical COVID-19 unit after their last 4 patients were discharged yesterday. While they still have 3 patients in their COVID-19 ICU, Freeman says it can serve patients in 1 combined medical unit. That'll allow staff to use those hospital beds for other patients. They say in case the need does arrive to take in COVID patients again, they'll keep equipment and infrastructure inside the unit in order to meet those needs. Past year has been a unique challenge for all of us, including universities like Pitt State. On March 13th, 2020, students were sent home early for spring break due to shelter-in-place orders. A year later, the university has students back on campus. University President Steve Scott tells us it was never easy, and teamwork to help university leadership figure it all out without having to let any staff go. This year, spring break was moved to the end of the semester, so students are not traveling and then returning to campus, meaning coursework will end on May 7th, a week earlier than usual. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
A final look before we get out of here. When you do take off out the door, make sure you do not go anywhere without the umbrella. Also, too, know that these thunderstorms have already produced a fair amount of hail. We've got sideways rain and 60-mile-an-hour winds. Be very, very careful out there. I'm going to throw on the the watches, excuse me. Let's take off the radar really fast, just give you an idea of the severe thunderstorm watches that still last for our counties in orange until 8 a.m. And then we will have a flash flooding, a distinct possibility with the amount of rain that we've already picked up. Temperatures drop down to the 40s. We'll get a little bit of a break here later this morning, but then we're going to revamp. More thunderstorm activity headed our way for later this afternoon. That'll carry us through Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And then after that, we can finally take a break about Thursday at noon.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're going to continue our Irish cooking segments, and we've got a surprise for you with another tasty recipe. This one's called boxty.
Boxty?
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. B-O-X-T-Y. It's kind of like potato pancakes type thing.
No, it's familiar. Sounds good, though.
Yeah, it's
All
going to
right,
be
your
yummy.
morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.